Chapter 123, The Worship Center, Part 1. Exodus chapter 37, verses 1 to 29. And Bezaleel made the ark of shittim wood. 2 cubits and a half was the length of it, and 1.5 cubits the breadth of it, and 1.5 cubits the height of it. And he overlaid it with pure gold within and without, and made a crown of gold to it round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold to be set by the 4 corners of it, even 2 rings upon the one side of it, and 2 rings upon the other side of it. And he made staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he put the staves into the rings by the sides of the altar to bear the ark. And he made the mercy seat of pure gold. 2 cubits and a half was the length thereof, and 1.5 cubits the breadth thereof. And he made 2 cherubims of gold, beaten out of one piece made he them, on the 2 ends of the mercy seat. 1 cherub on the end of this side, and another cherub on the other end on that side. Out of the mercy seat made he the cherubims on the 2 ends thereof. And the cherubims spread out their wings on high, and covered with their wings over the mercy seat, with their faces one to another, even to the mercy seatward were the faces of the cherubims. And he made the table of shittim wood. 2 cubits was the length thereof, and 1 cubit the breadth thereof, and 1.5 cubits the height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, and made thereunto a crown of gold round about. Also he made thereunto a border of an handbreadth round about, and made a crown of gold for the border thereof round about. And he cast for it 4 rings of gold, and put the rings upon the 4 corners that were in the 4 feet thereof. Over against the border were the rings, the places for the staves to bear the table. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold, to bear the table. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold, to bear the table. And he made the vessels which were upon the table, his dishes, and his spoons, and his bowls, and the covers to cover withal of pure gold. And he made the candlestick of pure gold. Of beaten work made he the candlestick, his shafts, and his branch, his bowl, his knops, and his flowers were the same. And 6 branches going out of the sides thereof, 3 branches of the candlestick out of the one side thereof, and 3 branches of the candlestick out of the other side thereof. 3 bowls made after the fashion of almonds in one branch, a knop and a flower, and 3 bowls made like almonds in another branch, a knop and a flower, so throughout the 6 branches going out of the candlestick. And in the candlestick were 4 bowls made like almonds, his knops and his flowers, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, and a knop under 2 branches of the same, according to the 6 branches going out of it. Their knops and their branches were of the same. All of it was one beaten work of pure gold. And he made his 7 lamps, and his snuffers, and his snuff dishes of pure gold. Of a talent of pure gold made he it, and all the vessels thereof. And he made the incense altar of shittim wood. The length of it was 1 cubit, and the breadth of it 1 cubit. It was 4 square, and 2 cubits was the height of it. The horns thereof were of the same. And he overlaid it with pure gold, both the top of it, and the sides thereof round about, and the horns of it. Also he made unto it a crown of gold round about. And he made 2 rings of gold for it under the crown thereof, by the two corners of it, upon the two sides thereof, to be places for the staves to bear it withal. And he made the staves of shittim wood, and overlaid them with gold. And he made the holy anointing oil, and the pure incense of sweet spices, according to the work of the apothecary. Exodus chapter 37, verses 1 to 29. As previously noted, Richard J. Clifford called attention to the nature of the temple in the ancient Near East. It was the center of learning and worship, the governmental source for all affairs, both public and private, as well as economic, cultural, religious, and political. There were differences from one country to another, but in all, the focus of life and all authority was religious. Biblical faith centers on the living God. It is the true religion as against the false faiths Clifford cited in his study. At one point, however, these false faiths were clearly ahead of modern cultures. In most cases, they recognized the necessity of a religious foundation for all things. Apart from that foundation, authority would quickly erode. Since the Renaissance and the Enlightenment, we have seen a radical shift in the doctrine of the necessary foundation of social order. Baalism was a naturalistic faith, but it held that its concept of order was grounded in the nature of being. With Darwinism in science and pragmatism in philosophy, religion, education, and politics, there has been a rapid erosion of the infrastructures of life and society. The religious center and source of law, government, authority, and society has been denied. As a result, the modern world has seen a radical shift into instability. It is symptomatic that a major new school of literary criticism calls itself deconstructionism. In Exodus chapter 37, first in verses 1 to 9, Bezaleel makes the ark under the direction of Moses. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 3. Second, then we are told in verses 10 to 24 that the table and lampstand were made. Third, in verses 25 to 28, we are given a report on the construction of the altar of incense and other important furnishings and items. These detailed reports are not of interest to modern man because, for him, the center of life is himself. This was implicit in ancient pagan religions. It has now become explicit in everyday life for men today. The center has been shifted into man's inner self. Because the ark was the most important single thing in the sanctuary, its construction was the work of the master artisan, Bezaleel, verses 1 to 5. The most important task was not delegated. Because he was in charge of all the work, every item is described as in some sense his work. Moreover, because it was God's house, all things had to be built faultlessly. This chapter corresponds to Exodus chapter 25, verses 10 to 39. In Exodus chapter 38, verse 23, we are told what Aholiab's work was. He was a cunning worker, that is, a deviser, an engraver, and an embroiderer. One scholar, Roy L. Honeycutt Jr., has calculated the weight of the metals used. According to him, the talent weighed about 75.6 pounds and the shekel 0.403 ounce. There was 3,000 shekels to the talent. His conclusion was that 2,206.88 pounds of gold, 7,604.7 pounds of silver, and 5,352.45 pounds of bronze were used. The total metallic weight was thus 15,164.03 pounds, or a little more than 7.5 tons of metal. This makes clear why the tabernacle was moved as little as possible. When it was moved, it was a major operation for the Levites, who transported it piece by piece. All this makes clear, too, why very early Christian churches, after the example of the tabernacle and the temple, made the church a magnificent building from the earliest days, and why church furnishings were so rich in gold and silver, designed and crafted with remarkable skill. It was regarded as dishonoring to God to do otherwise. God's own words were available to vindicate splendor in the church. Thus, in Haggai chapter 1, verses 2 to 11, we read, "Thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, This people say, The time is not come, the time that the Lord's house should be built. Then came the word of the Lord by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O ye, to dwell in your sealed houses, and this house lie waste? Now therefore, thus saith the Lord of hosts, Consider your ways. Ye have sown much, and bring in little. Ye eat, but have not enough. Ye drink, but ye are not filled with drink. Ye clothe you, but there is none warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, Consider your ways. Go up to the mountain, and bring wood, and build a house, and I will take pleasure in it, and I will be glorified, saith the Lord. Ye looked for much, and lo, it came to little, and when ye brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith the Lord of hosts? Because of mine house that is waste, and ye run every man unto his own house. Therefore the heaven over you is stayed from dew, and the earth is stayed from her fruit. And I called for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, and upon the oil, and upon that which the ground bringeth forth, and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon all the labours of the hands. Some of the people had returned from the Babylonian captivity and begun the difficult task of restoration. More attention had been given to their homes, some of which had beamed ceilings, than to God's temple, which remained in ruins. God therefore indicts them and tells them that He has sent drought to punish them for robbing Him of His due. He has plagued them also with discontent, so that nothing satisfies them. Not until they recognize God's centrality in all things will God bless and prosper them. The great and beautiful churches of the past were heavily influenced by the requirements of Exodus. The church was not only at the center of community geographically, but it was also the finest and most beautiful building thereof. The common objection to such costly and magnificent churches has been that the money spent in their construction could be better spent caring for the poor. This has been an often used argument. There are two things wrong with it. First, there is a very clear assumption that the care of people is more important than the glory of God. This is implicit humanism. From beginning to end, wherever the Bible speaks of God's house, the emphasis is clearly on the necessity for only the finest construction. Like the furnishings, the buildings are to be for glory and for beauty. Second, the poor have been best cared for when major stress has been placed on the finest kind of church construction. There is an obvious reason for this. God commands both that He be glorified in His house and in its construction, and also that we care for widows and orphans, for the needy and the sick. Today, the Church is derelict in both spheres, toward God and man alike. If we do not render to God his due honour, we will hardly obey him when he commands charity towards men. Baron von Hugel said that the essential character of Christianity is that it is irreducibly incarnational. Just as God became flesh in Jesus Christ, so our faith embodies itself in action, in charity, in buildings and institutions, and in every area of life and thought. In the words of S.H. Hooke, those who live by the Spirit, as Paul says, produce the fruits of the Spirit. A vine does not produce grapes by act of parliament, they are the fruit of the vine's own life. So, the conduct which conforms to the standard of the kingdom is not produced by any demand, not even God's, but it is the fruit of that divine nature which God gives as a result of what he has done in and by Christ. Man has made himself the centre of life in modern thought. As a result, in every sphere of life, including too often the Church, a man-centred emphasis prevails. The physical structure of God's sanctuary is a witness, on the one hand, to the necessary centre of all life and thought, and, on the other, the necessity to incarnate faith in action, in wood and stone, in construction and constructive activity in every sphere. One question more needs to be answered. Some say, why, when God is creator of all things, by his first word, is it necessary to give God such great wealth for the construction of his house? Why, when he needs nothing? This question betrays false thinking. If a man is rich, does that acquit him of obligation to pay him what we owe him? Does our need absolve us of our duties? Implicit in all such thinking is an absence of morality. In our time, need and equality have replaced morality and justice because we have abandoned God in favour of ourselves as the centre.